Kira, greetings to you all from C2C. This is Coach Jacob, and I am talking to you all from Chennai, which is south of India. Welcome you all to the platform. I'm actually stuck in India due to the pandemic. Each morning I wake up and I get to hear the news and read the papers. It's sad to note the number of lives that are lost each day and the number of new cases that get added each day. However, what we don't hear or read is a rise in numbers of people struggling to cope with anxiety and depression during this period of pandemic. Most of you are aware, the month of May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and we almost come to the end of May. However, I thought, let me pick up an apt topic like depression and share some of my thoughts and views. For those listening to this, I would really appreciate you taking the time to listen to this video and to put your thoughts and comments below. Depression is a complex disease. Varied number of reasons that trigger depression. However, the most common cause of it all is continuous negative thinking. A person ruminates on the same negative thought over and over and over again. There are 300 million people that battle with depression, which is roughly 4.4% of the global population. It's unfortunate that we have more women impacted by depression than men. For anyone around you that is going through depression, it's important for us to acknowledge, accept, and make sure that they seek help from the right people to get treated. Depression, when not recognized, accepted, and treated during its initial stages, at its very extreme, could lead to suicide. 800,000 people die each year due to suicide. In the age group 18 to 24, the third highest cause of death is suicide. 20% of all teens go through depression before they reach adulthood. Let's take a moment, ponder, and ask ourselves, these numbers are astronomical, and what an impact it has got on the global population. There are numerous articles and research papers on the World Wide Web. I stumbled upon two interesting facts. One, the Amish community has the lowest rate of depression. Two, the modern day hunter and gatherer, the Kaluli people of the New Guinea Highlands, have zero rate of clinical depression and grief. Western anthropologists have done decades and decades of studies on the Kaluli tribe. And it's interesting to note that not one case has been identified within this tribe for clinical depression and grief. The Kaluli people lead a very hard life, like our forefathers who were hunters and gatherers. They have no modern day gadgets. So from all these cross-cultural studies that are being done, it is now evident and it is clear that more modern a society's way of life, higher the rate of depression. And I'd like you all to pay a bit of attention to this. More modern a society's way of living, higher the rate of depression. I would like to introduce a different dimension into this conversation, and that is obesity. You may wonder, why have I jumped away from depression to obesity? Obesity has a bidirectional relationship with depression. Those that are obese have a 55% increased risk of getting depressed, and those that are depressed have a 58% increased risk of getting obese. Obesity is an epidemic, and it's time for us to ask the question, Why? Our appetites are fine-tuned to Stone Age. Let's have a look at our ancestors who were hunters and gatherers. The availability of food was seasonal, and there was a high prospect of hunger and starvation. As a result of this, due to the scarce availability of food, they could binge eat starchy foods, fatty foods, and nutrient-rich foods when they came across them, because their availability was quite scarce. Our genes reflect the history of the past. Our brains were never created to regulate hunger in the face of perpetual abundance. Look at it today. There's such high rich food, and when I mean high rich food is rich in calories 24/7. And our brains were never created to regulate our appetite in this phase of perpetual abundance. As a result of which, our brains can never say no to food. Our intake of food has gone up so much, whereas our output has become very less, thanks to the technology revolution that has happened over the last 100 years. We've got cars, we've got bikes, TVs, washing machines, dishwashers, vacuum cleaners. So all of these high-tech gadgets are there to make our life easy. However, what has happened, our inputs have gone up in terms of high, rich calorie foods, and our outputs have gone down, and it has all got us into as couch potatoes. Let us have a look at our ancestors who were hunters and gatherers. They had a high prospect of hunger and starvation, high infant mortality rate, crippling illnesses. They had to battle rough weather, wild animals, and sometimes enemies similar to their tribes. The question that we need to now ask is, how is it that these hunters and gatherers were able to weather the storm while the present generation just crumbles under pressure? It's very important for us to understand our Stone Age bodies and brains were never created for sedentary lifestyle. Over the last 100 years, the technology revolution has seen such great inventions and changes that gradually the old age way of living life has been forgotten. Let's look at some of the structures that the old age, or let's call it the hunter-gatherers, had. They had good exercise, exposure to sunlight, limited food available, sleep. They had good bonding within the tribe, and a structure in terms of activities to be completed. Our Stone Age bodies and brains were never invented for sedentary life, fast-paced life, high rich calorie foods? No, they were not. So if we were to compare ourselves with our forefathers, it's very important for us to acknowledge how is it that we could take some of these ancient way of living and bring it into our modern times. I'm not against technology revolution. It's time that we need to ask ourselves, how is it that we could blend the old age living with the new age lifestyle? Because it is quite evident that difficult lifestyle brings in zero clinical depression. So I'm going to leave you with these thoughts. How is it that we can regulate our diet, have better sleep, move our bodies more, expose ourselves to the sun, blend ourselves with the community rather than to get hooked with gadgets, and not the last and not the least, the kind of food that we eat. I hope you enjoyed listening to this. Please put in your comments. Thank you very much. Kia kaha.